to welcome all of you this morning. Happy Sabbath, and welcome all those you who are joining us online. We hope that we will see you in near future in person and have opportunity to fellowship with you after our services. Today, the topic that we are discussing is solving problems. Solving problems. We live in a world that is full of problems. And they are not just adding up, they are multiplying. We have political problems in this world. We have economical problems in this world. We have social problems in this world. Mic is not on? Oh, sorry. That's a problem. So, it's good that we have such a fast solution, but the challenge is that all these problems that the world is facing, and moral problems, and relational problems, and you name it, are devastating this world, including us. So today, we will attempt to answer two questions. First one, why do we have problems? Why? And second question is, how can we resolve these problems? Okay? So, when we talk about why do we have problems, no matter who you are or where you live, you will have problems. Unless you are Jamaican, they have no problem. Or maybe they have a solution for every problem. But the rest of us, we are in trouble. Okay? So, why do we have problems? You know, I'm glad that our God is so transparent and real and telling us the way it is. And in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33, he says, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world, you will have tribulations or problems. But be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." So God is very realistic. He's not telling us that this life is easy cruising. No problems. Just chill. Relax. No, he's very realistic. And he's telling us, in this world, as you live, you will face many challenges, many problems. But that's not the problem. The problem is if you don't have solutions for the problems. Okay? So, let's talk about the reasons why we have problems. Problems are inevitable because, number one, Satan and 1/3 of fallen angels live this on planet Earth. We sometimes forget that because we don't see them, but they are here. One of the major reasons why we have problems in this world, because we have the problem inventor, the master of problems, with 1/3 of fallen angels living here and creating a havoc in this world and in our personal lives. And no wonder, when we open our Bibles, and by the way, Just want to let you know, probably you haven't noticed, some of you, we had the new Bibles just in front of you. And those are Andrew's study Bibles, so they have some commentaries underneath the text. So if there is a difficult text, hard to understand, they can help you understand the meaning. So I will be using each time I preach this Bible, so if you want to follow me, you just go ahead and help yourself. And here in Revelation, the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, in chapter 12, Jesus told us in John that in this world we will have problems. But here is he telling us why we are having the problems. Okay? So, Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. So easy to remember. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. And here it says, "Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time." So God is warning us here and telling us, not that just that we will have problems in our lives, but He's telling us one of the reasons, major reasons why we are going to have problems in our personal life and the problems in our society and the world. Because the devil and 1/3 of the angels are here working 24/7, creating problems all over the world, including our world. So we shouldn't be surprised. This is not heaven. This is a battlefield. So, where we have good and evil fighting. And no wonder that we have problems. So that's number one reason why we have problems. Why problems are inevitable. Number two reasons. We ourselves create problems. We ourselves create problems. So, we cannot always blame the devil. Oh, devil made me do it. Oh, devil did it. That's an excuse. Sometimes we ourselves, because we make the poor choice and poor decisions in our lives, create problems for ourselves, for our families, for the community that we live, church, and the world. Because of our poor choices. And poor choices and wrong decisions create problems in our life. And this is the worst. And in Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. And if it's easier for you to find the Bible, it's on page 1541. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Here it says, "Do not be deceived, God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap." So it's not always devil to be blamed. We sometimes create the problems in our life. And someone says, if you don't like the crop you are reaping, check the seeds that you are sowing. If you don't like the crop you are reaping, check the seeds that you are sowing. You see, we have to take responsibility and admit that we sometimes create problems in our life. You see, sometimes people have problems in their finances because they spend the money that they do not have to buy the things they don't need to impress people they don't like. Isn't that true? We spend the money we don't have to buy the things that we don't need to impress people that we don't like. Wow. Sometimes we have financial problems because we are not faithful to God and tithes and offerings. And we are wondering, why am I having financial problems? You are alone. You are without God's blessing. And it's going to be hard. Someone told me, I remember a long time ago, I cannot afford to give tithes and offering. And I replied to them, I cannot afford not to give. I cannot afford not to give. It's better 90% plus God than 100% without God. Because God can multiply 90%. Okay? So that's something that we have problems. And someone says, the first rule of holes, when you are in one, stop digging. First rule of holes, when you are in one, stop digging. The third reason why we have problems and why the problems are inevitable is because we live in the world of growing complexity and diversity. What do I mean by that? You see, in last century, people have been immigrating from many countries and living in different countries. So there are many cultures, many races, many nationalities that live together they did not used to live before. And everyone brings their worldview, their points of view, their values, wherever they are. And sometimes, of course, as a result of that, you can have clashes. So because we live in this world of growing complexity and diversity, it's normal and realistic to expect differences, especially when you have difference of opinion. This is when the problem starts. You know, as soon as you have some personal opinions about anything, the problem can start. Because someone else might have totally different opinion about that. Okay? So another reason is because we live in a world of growing complexity and diversity. Another reason why we have problems in our lives is because we interact with sinful people, including ourselves. We are sinful too. So you see, there are bad people that we live with. And sometimes even good people, having good intentions, say or do wrong things. Have you experienced that? So no wonder. There are misunderstandings also. So because we interact with sinful people and we ourselves are sinful, sometimes we say or do things that hurt people around us, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Another reason why we have problems in this world, because we cannot control all the situations we feel. You see, life is not like your TV, where you can use the remote control, and if you don't like what's going on that channel, you simply flip to another one. Life does not work like that. So, when we think about these things, those are the reasons why the problems are inevitable. Satan and 1/3 of angels are here creating problems 24/7. We add up to that by making poor choices and poor decisions. We live in a growing, complex society, in diversity. We interact with sinful people, and we ourselves are sinful, and we cannot control all the situations we face. So, how can we solve the problems? You see, before we even solve the problems, we need to challenge our beliefs about the problem, our attitudes towards the problem. I remember when I was younger, and still today I'm tempted. Each time I would face the problem, I would be upset. Why do I have this problem? You see, until I was 18, since I was an only child, my parents solved all of my problems. Potential problems, they were proactive, you know what I mean? My parents lost 3 babies, so they couldn't have more, so I was the only one that they have, so they overprotected me, to the point that they were proactive in solving the problems that will come, that are here, so I have to deal with problems, and when I left the home, I had to deal with life, boy, I wasn't ready. And I was frustrating. Why do I have this problem? I never had problems. You know? But there are some unhelpful attitudes and beliefs that we have. And let me share with some of them. What are the unhelpful beliefs? Problems shouldn't be part of life. No. They shouldn't be part of life. Helpful belief is problems are normal part of the life. Another unhelpful belief is problems are unsolvable. Helpful belief is every problem is solvable. Another unhelpful belief is problems are permanent. I'm stuck with this till I die. It feels that way, huh? But we forget helpful belief is that problems are temporary. Problems are temporary. Unless they are predicament, you know. Problems are temporary. Another unhelpful belief, problems make us bitter. Helpful beliefs is problems make us better. Problems make us better. Another unhelpful belief is that problems control us. Problems control us. Helpful belief is problems challenge us. And the last one is that problems stop us, which in reality, problems just stretch us. So in order to solve the problem, we have to have these helpful beliefs. Otherwise, if we are in these unhelpful beliefs, we are in serious trouble. We are the problem then. The problem is not the problem, but what you think about the problem is the problem. You see? The problem is not the problem, but what you think about the problem can be a problem. So if we have the right beliefs, helpful beliefs about problem, by God's grace, all the problems can be resolved. Okay, so how to solve the problem? How to solve the problem? Ask God for wisdom. First thing that we should do when we face a problem is to come to God. But that's not what majority of us are doing. First thing that we do, we are trying to solve it ourselves and spend some time and energy, and nothing happens and we are frustrated. Then we talk to someone that we trust and try to solve it with them. And then with other people and who knows, some organizations, some professionals, and they're still there. And then as a last resort, you know what I mean? When we tried everything under the sun, then we come to God. And God says, I'm glad that he finally came. Wasted so much time and so much energy. And went nowhere, like in a circle, you know what I mean? So the first thing, whether it's small or big, God cares about your small problems. God cares about your big problem. God cares because he's caring God. That's his nature. And you are his child. Like those of you who have children. You care about your children and you want to solve their big and small problems. But sometimes children come with their toy that they destroyed and they keep in their hands, and they ask you to help them, but they are still keeping the toy in their hands. So there's nothing you can do until they let go. Then you can fix it. So the first thing that we should do, especially as the Christians, any problem you face, don't underestimate the problem. Because sometimes some problems that look small are huge problems. And sometimes the problems that are big are actually small problems. So we sometimes don't evaluate the problems properly. Come to God. Save your time and energy and frustrations. Don't we want them to be fixed yesterday if possible? You know? And then we are postponing and postponing just by not bringing it to him. And he's waiting anxiously for us to come so that we can help, so he can help us. But he respects our choice. Sometimes we think we are smarter than God. Then he let us challenge our smarts and intelligence. No matter how high IQ you have, bring your problems first to God and ask God for the wisdom. And we have examples in the Bible. Remember when Solomon was chosen to be the king? Boy, to be a king, you are solving the problems, not just personal, community problems or your country, and also problems of the world that you live. And Solomon realized the task. This is not just wearing the crown and wearing the expensive clothes and living in the palace. But boy, because he observed his father as he was growing, he realized the challenges that he had to face. And look what he said. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. But I'm only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern these great people of yours? The first thing that Solomon did as a king is, before even he faced any problem, the first thing that he did, he came to God and asked, give me wisdom that I can save every problem, small or big, that comes my way. We have example of Daniel. Remember when he was taken as a captive? And when the king Nebuchadnezzar had a dream and even forgot the dream, and now he's asking all the wise men, including Daniel, not just to interpret the dream, but to tell him what was the dream. And when all other wise men of that time could not, he started killing. And Daniel, what did Daniel do? Went to the prayer, went to God. Please, God, help me. Give me wisdom. I can't solve it. Who can solve this problem? Nobody. And God gave him wisdom. Look at Hannah and other ladies in the Bible that could not have children. They cried out to God, please, God, there is nothing I can do. You can fix this problem. You can help me have a child. And God did. So we have many examples in the Bible when people face challenges that they came first to God. And this is example to us. It's not just to read biographies. It's not just historical book. But we need to learn the lessons as we read the Bible. So first thing that we need to do is we need to come to God and ask to help us solve the problem. This world would be better place if all the politicians in the world will come to God to solve all these political, economical, social problems that we are facing. But they are not doing that. That's why there is no solution for problems. Because they are too big for us humans to face it. And eventually, God himself needs to come, second coming of Jesus Christ, to solve our problems. Because we are not able to do it. It's too complex, too big. Okay. Another thing that we need to do when we face the problems is to ask ourselves, is this a problem or is this predicament? You know what's the difference between problem and predicament? If it is a problem, there is something you can do about it. If it's a predicament, there is nothing you can do about it. Oh, some people, remember, came to Canada as refugees, the same as me as immigrant, 30 years ago. And they were so frustrated, it's so cold in Canada, you know what I mean? Oh, it's never cold. We never faced such a winters in our country, all that and all that. Oh, and they were complaining and whining. And I said, there is nothing you can do about it. If you don't like it, go back. Go back to our country. You'll have nice, mild winters. You know what I mean? No problem, but you'll have war and slaughter and all that economical problems that is there. Go back. There's nothing you can do. This is Canada. Haven't you know that before you came? So you're going to change the weather? So stop complaining about the things that you don't have control. We need to understand what's the problem and what's the predicament. And if it's predicament, God help me put up with this in the best possible way. But if it's the problem, it can be solved. And that's why you have that serenity prayer. Remember the serenity prayer? How many of you have seen this? Look at it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. You have to accept them and live with them. Nothing you can do about the winter in Canada. Nothing. Praise God, this winter is less. Praise God. Usually it's not this month. So God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom, this is important, to know the difference. Because if you don't know the difference between problem and predicament, you'll be in serious trouble. You'll try to solve the predicaments and put up with problems. And that's not the way to solve the problems. Is that right? So God gives me wisdom to realize, is this predicament or is this a problem? If it's a predicament, please give me a strength, give me a patience, give me all I need to put up with this. Do my very best, but you still have to put up with this. But if it's a problem, give me wisdom to solve it. Very important for us. Another way how to solve this problem is to anticipate problems. Anyone who expects the road to be easy will continually find him or herself in trouble. Since problems are inevitable, and we just talked about why do we have problems, since the problems are inevitable, we should anticipate them. I'll tell you the story of David Livingstone, the missionary to Africa. You know, a mission organization in England wanted to send helpers to Dr. Livingstone. So its leader wrote, you know what he wrote? Listen to this. Have you found a good road to where you are? If so, we want to send other men to join you. And you know what was the Livingstone reply? He replied in a letter and said, if you have men who will come only if they know there is a good road, I don't want them. I want men who will come even if there is no road at all. So he didn't want to come them to send people who don't want to have any problems to help him. Because he had lots of problems. Keep them, I don't need them. If these kind of people you're sending me, keep them. They'll be a burden for him. They'll become another problem for him. He already had enough problems to solve, you know what I mean? He doesn't need additional one. Sometimes helpers create problems, you know what I mean? So if you keep your attitude positive but plan for the worst, you'll find yourself in good position to solve problems that come your way. So anticipate the problem. Don't be shocked or surprised. We told the reason why. It's normal. So anticipate that. Then, next step that we need to do in trying to solve problems by God's grace is accept the problem and try to solve it. You see, there are three categories of people, or three kind of attitudes that people have towards the problems. How people respond to the problems. One group of people refuse to accept the problem. They ignore them and hope they will go away. Is that you? They refuse to accept them. They ignore them and hope they will go away. But I have bad news. They never go away. That's the problem. Second group of people, what they do with the problems, they accept, this is jumping. They accept the problem and put up with it. Because they feel powerless to solve them. You see, you don't put up with the problems, you put up with predicaments. With the things that you cannot change. But problems is something that you can do about it. So, but some group of people, they accept the problems, they're not like the first one, to refuse them, ignore them, and hope they'll go away. They accept them, but then they just live their lives putting up with them. And boy, every problem that comes their way, they're putting up. And the cross is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And your frustration is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And your patience is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you end up erupting like a volcano. You break down. You can't carry that. And then you have the third group of people who accept the problem and they try to solve it. So the question is, who am I? Which group do I belong to? What is my attitude towards the problem? Do I refuse to accept the problem, ignore it, try and hope it'll go away? Or do I accept the problem and just put up with this because I'm powerless to resolve them? Or I belong to the third group, accept the problem and try to solve it. Tackle them willingly. And some people have a hard time solving problems because they don't know how to tackle them. And that can be a problem. So, next thing that we have. Welcome. Welcome to the problems. And they are now frustrating over there, so pray for them. I'm okay. There we go. You see? They solved the problem. They did not take this as a predicament. They knew they can do something about it. Is that right? Yeah, that's right, that's right. Accept them and try to solve them. Another thing that is very important when we are facing problems is handle one problem at a time. Handle one problem at a time. Never try to solve all the problems in your life at once. Make them line up for you one by one. Think which one is the most important. Prioritize them. Which is the worst one? Which is the emergency one? Which one needs to be dealt as soon as possible? There are some that can wait. Not that urgent, you know what I mean? So, make them line up for you. Never try to solve them. Experienced animal trainers take a stool with them to step into the cage with a lion. Have you noticed that? Why a stool? Why a stool? It tames the lion better than anything, except maybe a tranquilizer gun. When the trainer holds the stool with the legs extended towards the face of the lion, the animal tries to focus on all four legs at once, and that paralyzes it. The same thing happened with us. Divided focus always works against us. People who get into trouble most often are the ones who are overwhelmed by the sheer size of volume of their troubles. And they double at problem solving. If you are faced with lots of problems, make sure you are really focusing on one you are working on before moving to the next one. Because it will take too much energy, too much time. And you don't have that. Neither you have strength. So line them up one by one. Another way how we can solve problems is surround yourself with problem solvers. Surround yourself with problem solver. If you are not a good problem solver, find someone who is good, that you can learn from them. Remember the kings. They would always, and some politicians, surround themselves who are smarter than themselves. They always has around them the wise men who had more experience, who've been around longer than they are, who have knowledge, so they could help them. So surround yourself with people who are good problem solvers. Next point. Evaluate the problem. You know, sometimes we just rush into solving the problems without evaluating the problems. And what is important for us is that we spend the time solving the real issue. Sometimes we deal with the symptoms and try to solve the symptoms. Let me give you an example. We have a headache or migraine. And our immediate solution is what? Tylenol, Advil, or whatever medicine to help us. But you see, that's dealing with the symptoms. You're not dealing with the cause of the headaches. You need to find out, why am I having a headache? Because if you figure it out why you are having a headaches and deal with the cause of the headaches, you will solve the problem of the headaches. You won't take always Tylenol and Advil as your solution. That's a temporary, but not permanent solution. Maybe you're having a headaches because you're not sleeping enough. Maybe you're having headaches because you're having too much stress in your life. Maybe you're having headaches because you're not drinking enough water. I don't know, there are many reasons why you can have headaches. But you need to figure it out. What's the cause of the problem? And deal with the cause, the root of the problem, not with the leaves, not just with the symptoms. Okay, and that's very, very important for us. So spend to discover the real issues. Another thing that can help us is also find out what others have done. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Probably there is solution already. Talk to your friends, talk to the people, even professionals. So try to find out what others have done. And then brainstorm multiple solutions. Don't have only one solution. Have few solutions for the problem. And then the last thing is determine the best 3 ways to solve it. And then implement the best solution. So that's all she wrote. I hope this is helpful to you. Because I know that every single one of you here, every single one of us here, is facing some challenges. Every single one. If you are not doing right now, praise God. But I guarantee you, tomorrow you'll have some. Because devil won't leave you alone for a long time. And you will probably make mistakes. And some other people around you. So it's very important for us to understand this. But how to solve them? It's very important. And God is teaching us, come to God immediately. Whether it's small or big problem. Think about, is this problem or a predicament? If it's predicament, ask God to give you grace and strength and patience so you can put up with it. There's nothing you can do about it. But if it's problem, ask Him to give you wisdom to solve it. And courage. Wisdom and courage. Also, anticipate the problem. It's a normal part of life. Nothing new under the sun. It's a normal thing. Accept the problem. Don't ignore the problem. Don't refuse to accept them and hope they'll go away. Or accept them and put up with them. Problems have solutions. Predicaments might not. But even predicaments with Jesus' second coming have solutions. Not just problems, but predicaments too. Another thing, handle one problem at a time. Don't spread yourself too thin, trying to solve every problem today. Line them up regarding priorities. Surround yourself with some problem solvers. If you have problems in your marriage, go to the counselor. If you have problems with finances, go to an accountant. Good. If you need some mental help, if you need spiritual help, go to those people who are professional. God can use them to help you. Surround yourself with problem solvers. Evaluate the problem. Don't just jump to solve them. What kind of problem is it? And then determine 3 best solutions and then implement one of them to the best of your ability. And if it doesn't work, you have 2 more. But you came with the solution because you first came to God. And may God bless each one of us not to be afraid of the problems, but to be courageous enough and wise enough to face them and by God's grace to solve them. And not just that, to help people around us then. Help them solve their problems. Because when you do that, you'll have more credibility once you talk about spiritual problems. But we need to do with other problems that they are facing. We finish with the spiritual one. And may God bless each one of us. Amen.